بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه وتمتعه فيها تبيلا أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للسباب بمنك وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكالة والنغمة وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي وأقل يا غفور عثرتي فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها وهموما قد كشفتها وعسرة غدا ورحمة قد نشرتها وهلغة بلاء قد فككتها الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمتك. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره، وحمده الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يده، الذي لا تنقض خزائنه ولا تزيد كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما. إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير، ما حاجة بي إليها عظيمة، وغناك عنه قديم، وهو عندي كثير، وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وسفحك عن ظلمي وسترك على غبيح عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي. أتمني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك، الذي ارتزقتني من رحمتك وأريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك، فسرت عدوك آمنا وأسألك مستانسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا، مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه لك، فإن هبت عني عتبت بجهلي عليك، ولعل الذي يبت عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلم أر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك علي يا رب. إنك تدعوني فأوليك وتتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك، كأن اليد تتولى عليك. فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي. والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك، فارحم عبدك الجاهل، وجد علي بفضل إحسانك، إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الأسباب ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه، والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرتك، والحمد لله على طول عنايته في غضبك، وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الأسباب ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وغرب فشهد النجوى، تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعدله، ولا شبيه يشاكله، ولا ظهير يعضده، قهر بعزته الأعزاء وتواضع لعزمته العظماء، فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا عصي، ويعظم النعمة علي فلا جازي. فكم من موهبة هنينة قد أعطاني، وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني، وبهجة مولغة قد أراني، فأثني عليها حامدا واذكر مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابا ولا يغلق بابا ولا يرد سائلا ولا يخيب عاملا. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويدع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلفه آخرين. والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين الحمد لله الذي من خشيته تراد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وأمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ومميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك. أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأزنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتهننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفيك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين وسي رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبع العظيم. وصل على صديقة الطاهرة فاطمة سيدة النساء العالمين. وصل على سبط الرحمة وإمام الهدى الحسن والحسين سيد الشباب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. والخلف الهادي المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر، وحفه بملائكتك المغربين، وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والغائم بدينك، استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله. مكن له دينا الذي ارتزرته له، أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا، يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم اعزه واعزز به، وانصره وانتصر به، وانصره نصرا عزيزا، وافتح له فتحا يسيرا، واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم اظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك، حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله، وتذل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاء إلى طاعتك والغادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها الكرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فأملنا، وما قصرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم المم به شاثنا، واشرب به صدعنا، وارتق به فتغنا، وكثر به غلتنا، وعزز به ذلتنا، واغنى به عائلنا، واغذ به المغرمنا، واجبر به فقرنا، وسد به خلتنا، ويسر به عسرنا، وبيض به وجوهنا، وفك به أسرنا، وأنجح به طلبتنا، وأنجز به مواعيدنا، واستجب به دعوتنا، وأعطنا به سؤلنا، وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا، وآتنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوصى الموطين أشفي به صدورنا وأذهب به غيظ قلوبنا وأهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا فصل على محمد وآله وأنا على ذلك بفتح منك تؤجل وبذر تكشف ونصر تعز وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللناها وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
One more salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. May Allah bless you. Thank you for coming and supporting the majlis of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Before we introduce our beloved Sayyid, let's have the youth come forward. There's a lot of space up here. Okay? Brothers, there's a lot of space up here. You don't want there to be a fire hazard. There has to be clear exit routes. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. MashaAllah, there's a lot of effort put in that there are programs, there are lectures in a language that you can understand. And doubtless, this is the reason why many people, alhamdulillah, come for the programs. So let's not waste this opportunity. Anyhow, everyone please give a loud salawat for our beloved Sayyid, bi Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Do you want to do that right Additionally, there is a hayat after tonight's program where the Ahlul Bayt are remembered. Salawat. I'm going to put this up for you, Sayyid.
That's good. That's good. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبا القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد. Okay, sure.
I apologize, brothers and sisters. There is a kids program for kids up to the age of 8. So please send your young ones upstairs. There is, alhamdulillah, volunteers that are going to be facilitating the kids program.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبا القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. May your fasting, acts of worship be accepted this holy month of Ramadan, inshallah. As you know, the nights are passing us very fast. And hopefully we're trying to benefit as much as possible in the remaining part of Shahr Ramadan. We ask Allah right now, if He has not forgiven us during Shahr Ramadan, to forgive us in the remaining nights of Ramadan, inshallah. Because the forgiveness and the mercy of God is very intense and will be prevalent, inshallah, the last nights of Shahr Ramadan. When you talk about things to talk about and to focus in Shahr Ramadan, one of them is where we will go. When we look at some of the sayings, possible traditions, that a person who knows these three things, may Allah have mercy upon him. Rahimallahu abdan, may Allah have mercy on a soul who knows these three things. Min ain, fi ain, and ila ain. That where they came from. And where did we come from? From Allah. We know the mabda. We know the origin. Wa fi ain, where are they right now? Where are we right now? This is a test for us. And for us to behave properly, we follow Rasul and the Imams. And ila ain, where we will go. So these three things, where we came from, where we are now, and where we will go. To increase our ma'rifat and understanding in Shahr Ramadan, we have to focus on where we will go. That is why the topic that we have chosen in this blessed month is about death and about barzakh, about what will happen to us in the grave. Dear brother, dear sister, this will happen for everyone. Sooner or later, death is a reality, and that is, ila ain, where we will go to. For the believer, this is not something necessarily very frightful, because this is a reality, this is actual life. We believe that the angel of death, just as he takes our soul, that from when he takes our soul, from then we will be delivered and we will see real life again. And we'll be born again. And this is nothing but the meeting of God. But there are descriptions about death and about the angel of death that we talked about, and about the questioning of the grave, for example, we talked about the compression of the grave, the punishments of the grave that we need to know. And the reason for this is why. So we should just, scare each other, or that we can act and we can know what to do in this world before it's too late. So then in the hereafter, you won't say that, I wish I would have known this is what would have happened to me. Maybe if they told me a few more hadith and a few more pieces of advice, I would not have behaved this way, so this would not have happened to me. So one of the most beneficial remembrances for us is death, especially in Shahr Ramadan. And this will take away, it's like water that will extinguish the fire of passion and lust and love of the world. Because we said, for example, in the tradition of Imam Qadim alayhi salam, the Imam Qadim saw this person being buried and mentioned that this person, this is the akhirah, this is the end of it. At the end is just a body in a grave, in a dark ditch. And he's surprised in a way that, why people, if this is the end of life, then why would people be so attached to the beginning of it? No matter how hard we work, no matter what status we have, no matter how much money we have or popularity, at the end of our life, we'll be in this ditch, in this hole, and that the only thing that will come to help us are our actions. So tonight we're going to talk about different stages of the life of the dead and different relationships that they have. Dear brothers, dear sisters, one type of relationship that the dead have are between themselves. First question, do the dead see each other? Do their spirits see each other or not? Do they even talk to one another? What is life like over there? The second is, can the dead have a relationship with this world, with people that are alive? Can they see us? Can they hear us? Can they be informed of us? And the third part is, can we have a relationship with the dead, with the spirits? The third. So tonight we're going to talk about the first, which is the relationship of the dead, to the arwah, with one another. How is it like? When we look at the traditions, we see that, first of all, when we talk about meetings, yes, there will be meetings. They will see one another. They'll greet one another. But it's different than this world. In this world, when we see one another, a lot of that is based on the fact that we have needs. We need something. When you go to work, when you call somebody, a lot of times it's just based on needs, and you're fulfilling your needs in this world. The meetings of the hereafter won't be necessarily like this, that you're needing something, or that someone will have a very high social status like in this world. If there are meetings that we're going to talk about, that someone in this world is a leader, for example, someone in this world, has this position, this skill in this world, therefore we need him. In the hereafter, each person will not have that need. They'll meet each other, but it'll be more about lidha, about enjoying one another, not necessarily about gaining things from one another. Let me share this hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam in Al-Kafi. إن الأرواح في صفة الأجساد في شجرة في الجنة تعارف وتساءل. Those that go to the next world, those that we know from our friends or family members right now in the grave, they have sifatul ajsad, they have the attributes of bodies. They're in bodies, we said, difference of opinion, maybe it is that exact body, or maybe majority say it is a body that's mithali, similar to this body in the grave. And they're in this physical, what they see as a physical heaven, Jannah, and this is Jannah Barzakhi, the Jannah in Barzakh. Ta'araf wa tasa'al. They know each other. And they ask about one another. So don't think that, inshallah, everyone goes to heaven here, that you'll get rid of us, in the hereafter. You'll see us again and you'll, meet one another and you'll be asking and hanging out, inshallah, there. But the interesting thing is they'll be asking questions, and the question is this: فَإِذَا قَدِمَتِ الْرُوحُ عَلَى الْأَرْوَاحِ. When a new person comes in, someone just dies. So all the spirits are there, they know each other. A new one comes. The tradition for Imam Sadiq says, يَقُولُ دَعُوهَا فَإِنَّهَا قَدْ أَفْلَتَتْ مِنْ حَوْلٍ عَظِيمٍ. When he first arrives, leave him alone. He went through a lot. Because that process of death, as we said, is a very strenuous, difficult process. So the fact that he comes to the spirits, they give him a break. So stop asking him questions. Let him recover a little bit from sakarat al-maut, from the questioning of the grave, from all those things that were happening to him. Leave him alone. When it says a little bit afterwards, ثُمَّ, it says, a little bit afterwards, يَسْأَلُونَهَا مَا فَعَلَ فُلَانٌ وَمَا فَعَلَ فُلَانٌ. What did this person used to do? What did this person used to do? They ask. So they're asking each other about people they know in the dunya, or maybe in the akhirah. They're asking and they're inquiring. Then it says, فَإِنْ قَالَتْ لَهُمْ تَرَكْتُهُ حَيًّا ارْتَجَوْا. If they say to them that I left and they were alive, the dead, the arwah, the spirits will say there, I hope, they have irtija, they have hope that soon they will come to barzakh and meet them. They miss them, they want to see them. But then if they say, وَإِنْ قَالَتْ لَهُمْ قَدْ هَلَكَ قَالُوا قَدْ هَوَى هَوَى. If they say, no, he has died already, and they're wondering, well, why isn't he here? Well, what do you think the reason for that is? What do you think that they haven't met him yet and he has died? It's because it says, Hawa, Hawa. He had descended. He went to Jahannam barzakhi. God forbid. He didn't meet them. He didn't see them. So if that person is still alive, they didn't see him, they wish that he'll come with them. But if he's already dead and they didn't have any news of him, they know that he went to somewhere else. So you see, the first thing in this tradition from Imam Sadiq and Al-Kafi is that people will know. It says ta'araf wa ta'sa'al. They ask and they inquire, and there's a relationship with the believers and the mu'mineen hereafter in the barzakh. Remember, what is barzakh again? That life after death before the day of judgment, purgatory, that barrier between. It's not really necessarily has some of the attributes, say, of this world. It isn't really 100% the hereafter, something in between. Okay, so that's the first thing. So there are meetings. Another interesting thing about barzakh, and this verse might just apply to heaven, because this verse in the Quran that talks about, it says, fi jannatin na'im. Sometimes it's hard to figure out which one of the verses of Quran would apply to barzakh of heaven or heaven itself. But let's just assume it says heaven. Because in narration it says, fi jannah, in the verse of Quran it says, fi jannatin na'im. Then it says, فَأَقْبَلَ بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. Quran says. So some of them come to others and they are asking. Narration says, well, what are they asking in heaven? And it says that what they're asking is يَتَسَاءَلُونَ عَنِ الْفَضَائِلِ وَمَعَارِفِ. They're asking each other. They're asking each other about virtue and knowledge. And as one of the scholars here in these discussions that I'm learning from him, he is mentioning that they're asking and inquiring about the station of Fada'il of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. They're asking each other. And they're learning in heaven, in barzakh. So this is either in heaven or in barzakh. It doesn't really matter because barzakh life is similar to that of heavenly life. So they are inquiring about the maqam of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, according to what the scholar is saying. So they are learning things. So there is also takamul when it comes to knowledge in barzakh or in heaven. That people inquire. There's not necessarily takamul when it comes to amal and action, because in this world, whatever we gain, we have for ourselves in the next world. But that takamul, that perfection that we have, at least at this part, is in understanding and inquiring and knowing more about Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. They ask each other, and about what? An fada'il, about the virtues, for example, of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. They ask him. Because then you begin, when the barriers are removed, you begin to see realities. Your eyes begin to see sharp. But from what we understand from these ahadith, is necessarily that it happens maybe not all at one time. Slowly and slowly they start seeing more. They start seeing more and more and more. Let's give a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So far about the relationship with the dead, with one another. What's going on right now, and from what we have from the traditions? They know each other. They inquire about one another. In heaven, they ask each other about the fada'il of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and possibly in the heaven of Barzakh. Then tradition also says that they are eating. They are eating in Barzakh. We have from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Arwahul mu'mineen fi hujuratin. They're in rooms, they're in residences. Fil Jannah, ya'kuluna min ta'amiha wa yashrabuna min sharabiha wa yatazawaruna fiha. They're eating and drinking and visiting one another. But again, this food that we have here in this world is food that is relieving our needs, because it is a spiritual, it is the spirit. And this body that we have, there is a connection to that body that is there. And there's this ons, you could say. It is actually, maybe you could say this, is that when somebody is buried, that attachment, because say, for example, 50, 70, 100 years, we're used to this body. So if something happens to it, someone is harmful to it, someone is rough with this body, we earn pain, because there's ons, this connection to the body. And when somebody comes to visit them, because spirits are metaphysical, but they have connections to the body. So when they come and visit where they are buried, that person looks at them, hears them. There's sama, for example. They hear what they're saying. That's one of the reasons there's talqeen. Talqeen, someone is reciting, means they can hear. Why would God put talqeen? You know what talqeen is, right? Talqeen is when you tell the person that is buried to say this, for example. When they ask you, for example, who's your Rabb, you tell them, say Allah Jalla Jalal. When they ask you who's your Prophet, you're telling them the answers. So one of the reasons that we know that they can hear us, and this is parts of the other discussion, is that talqeen, because it's recommended, or maybe as you can say it's better, it's one of the adab of burial, is that talqeen can happen. And that is, the mayyit hears. And one of the reasons you can say that is because the mayyit, the person that is dead, has a connection to their body. And wherever their body is, they have that connection to their body. You can do visits, for example, visitations of the imams, anywhere, right? To the spirits of imams, you could do ziyarah. But again, there's that connection they have to that holy body, to the body and that place of burial that they have. So you see that they're eating and drinking, but again, that eating and drinking is separate than this world. In this world, we're eating for our body to keep that maintained, but that body is buried, it's dead. So a lot of that could be out of liddat, for example, out of enjoyment, because the spirit necessarily doesn't need this food of this world. Then you see in traditions that there are two main places. I'm going to give you directions, hopefully that you can follow. Inshallah, when this happens, of hopefully 200, 300 years for you, remember, if you see signs when you die that there's Wadi al-Salam, go towards that way. If there's signs that says Wadi al-Barahut, do not go. Follow that way. Go the opposite. Run away from that if you can. Read the signs first, inshallah. So Wadi al-Salam is a place, is a graveyard we have, one of the largest graveyards in Najaf. And some of the narrations say Dhahrul Kufa, behind Kufa. So that is one physical location. Also Wadi al-Barahut is also a place in Yemen that we have. But what could happen, we can interpret it as maybe the malakut, the batin of this, or a spiritual place of Wadi al-Salam. That is where it is similar to Wadi al-Salam in Najaf, But that's where all the bodies are gathered, the good spirits, the believers. All of them are gathered in Wadi al-Salam. The disbelievers, they are gathered in Wadi al-Barahut, in a place that is specific for who? The disbelievers. That's why we said in the first tradition, when the dead inquire, someone new comes, and they know that they have already died, but they haven't seen them. Possibly, they haven't seen them in Wadi al-Salam. Because they went to Wadi al-Barahut, they don't have information of them anymore. They don't know where they are. They lose contact with them. So look at this tradition. It's very nice that once Imam Ali and his companion Habba Urani went, and Imam Ali alayhi salam started walking in Wadi al-Salam cemetery. This tradition is in Al-Kafi. And he sees, the narrator says, he sees Imam Ali alayhi salam start to speak to a group of people. He's talking and talking and talking to a group of people. The narration says, كَأَنَّهُ مُخَاطِبٌ لِأَقْوَامٍ, as if he's speaking to a group of people. And it takes so long, Imam Ali alayhi salam is speaking with them, and this person gets tired actually. He gets his Abbas, he gets his robe, and puts it on the ground and asks Imam Ali alayhi salam, do you want to sit down? He says, no. Then Imam Ali alayhi salam explains to this person in narration what he was doing in Wadi al-Salam. And says, لَوْ كُشِفَ, tells his companion, لَوْ كُشِفَ لَكَ لَرَأَيْتَهُمْ حَلَقًا حَلَقًا يَتَحَادَثُونَ. If you were able to see them, you would see them in for example, in circles and circles they are speaking. Circles and circles they are speaking with one another. And it says to them, mentioning that whenever a mu'min comes, it says, Al-Hiqi biwadi as-salam wa innahu la buq'atun min jannati adnin. Go there to Wadi as-Salam. That's a place, it's an example of heaven. So all the believers, where do they go? Wadi al-Salam in Barzakh. Their spirits go over there. And those that are evil, not evil, those that are disbelievers. The disbelievers, as we have narrations in Al-Kafi, their spirits will be taken to Wadi al-Barahut. Does this depend on where you are buried? No. It doesn't matter. You could be buried here in America, in the US, and they'll take your spirit to Wadi al-Salam. This is the tradition. Let me read it for you. So the tradition from Imam Sadiq, and again this is in Al-Kafi, أما أنه لا يبقي مؤمن ويبقى مؤمن في شرق الأرض وغربها إلا حشر الله روحه إلى وادي السلام. There's no believer even from the east of the west of the world, east of the world, that unless Allah gathers them, their spirits in Wadi al-Salam. And other narrations we have of Imam Ali, another instance with Asbaq ibn Nubata, that Imam Ali is speaking to these souls. How lucky are those souls that Imam Ali alayhi salam is speaking to them. And that might be a reality of Imam Ali alayhi salam, because Najaf is where Imam Ali is. Wadi al-Salam is where Imam Ali is. It could be the wilayat of the Ma'asumeen, this Wadi al-Salam. That's where all the believers go, because we have in traditions that we are connected like a tree to Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. I don't know here, has anyone heard the tradition of the tree? The tradition of the tree states that the roots, this world, the mu'mineen are like a tree. The roots are Rasulullah. The trunk of the tree is Imam Ali alayhi salam, and the branches are the Imams in the tradition. And the fruit of this tree are the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt. And the leaves of the tree are us, followers, the Shia of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam. So therefore, you see, we're connected to one tree, one body. And the root and the trunk of the tree is Rasulullah and Imam Ali alayhi salam. And we're connected. Whenever a follower of Ahlul Bayt dies, a leaf falls. Whenever a believer is born, another leaf is born. So you see that how important it is that we are connected through walayat. And possibly this Wadi al-Salam is the place of walayat that Imam Ali alayhi salam is speaking to them there. This is where everyone goes, because obviously you go to the core, you go to the center. And the center is the Prophet and Imam Ali alayhi salam. So these are very encouraging things, good things that there we will be meeting Imam Ali alayhi salam. We'll be seeing Imam Ali. Let's recite Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Dear brother and sister, what do you understand and what is the lesson so far in these discussions tonight? One is how important brotherhood in treating one another and establishing connections with one another is in this world. Because you are masters, we're of one family, we're of one tree, and our leaders are the Imams, our leaders are Rasulullah. How sweet is this brotherhood that is from out of love? Because we're all here out of love of who? Of our Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali alayhi salam. Because we are here, and I want to just say this so we cry for Imam Ali a little bit, that all of us, when the 19th happened, the 21st happened, we have a hayat tonight, and I see some of the brothers are coming to beat their chest tonight. Hayat is a weekly, it's different than, for example, different programs in masjids or centers where you have it for the martyrdom. A hayat is a group of, brothers or sisters, or, that they come together and they practice crying and reciting and hit themselves for Ahlul Bayt, but it's done weekly. The difference with the hayat and other things is done every week. So every week you get that wilayat that you need, and that wilayat that I spoke to you about, that is so important in the grave. So we're all here together because of the love of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And when we enter heaven, the tradition has that Rasulullah enters Salat, passes Salat, the narrow bridge, enters heaven with the love through the nur of Allah, through Allah. But Imam Ali passes Salat through the nur of Rasulullah. And the ummah of Rasulullah, his nation, passed through the nur walayat of Imam Ali. So as such nights, which is after the 21st, we think to ourselves and we say that, these hands that were buried in such nights, and this person that is, visiting the believers in that place that we want to go, is Wadi al-Salam, they are hands that very secretly would attend to the affairs of other believers, very secretly attend to the poor, and would do sadaqatul sir. In a way, nobody else knew who these hands were, but Imam Ali and those that he would give to. Those eyes that, in such a month of Shahr Ramadan that are buried, those are eyes that would cry every night, cry every day for Allah. That heart that was buried, the heart of Imam Ali, is the heart that has the secrets of God, that has true ma'rifat of Allah, that is buried in such a night in Shahr Ramadan. The feet of Imam Ali that get buried in such a night are the feet that would stand up in prayer for 1,000 units every night. So we are here together because of the love of Rasulullah, the love of Imam Ali alayhi salam. This is what connects us. This is the tree. You guys are all leaves right now. And that trunk in the tree is the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So be very careful. My advice is be very careful on how we treat one another. Be careful, because this is separate than, treatment of others. We are fair with everyone else. They are our brothers in creation. Yes, we're fair with them. Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam did not start wars. They waited for the enemies to start wars. They're very fair with them. If they cut off water, they did not cut off water to them. They were fair. But the tradition has, with ourselves, there's something else that's needed. And that is al-ithar, that is sacrificing. Al-insaf is for the rest of creation. Be fair with them. But when it comes to one another, sacrifice for one another. Sacrificing means this. There's 1 cup of water left. Everyone here was fasting, for example. Everyone is thirsty, right? I give my share. Idalat would mean this. I split this, and I give each person, for example, 5 milliliters or 2 milliliters of water just to keep them alive. That would be fair, right? Well, he's got another one, but pretend there's not another one. This is the only water. Don't ruin the example. So this is the only water here. I split it with everyone here, 1 milliliter. Then we have For example, insaf would be this. Ethar would mean this, that there's only one cup of water, and I have a right to this. This is my water. I was speaking. You guys were not speaking. I deserve this water. So I was speaking, and I say, here, my dear brother Jose, you had this water, have this as well. I'm going to sacrifice and give my share to you. Maybe I'll remain thirsty the rest of the speech, but it's fine. I want to give you my share. That's ethar, that's sacrifice. That's something that is needed amongst the brothers. Why? Because the treatment, we treat everyone fairly. But what we are supposed to do is we're supposed to be so kind with one another, sacrifice so much for one another, that sometimes the imams, they would come to them and say, rebel. They say, rebel, fight. You have an army in Kufa, for example. The imam would ask, how are they with their money? And you wonder, wait a minute, they want to fight for you, they want to unsheath their sword for you, imam. The imam asks, how are they with their money? If they need money, do they just go to each other's pockets? Do they go to each person's wallets without asking, for example, and just take? Are they that close that they share their wallet with one another? And usually society is not like this. I have my money, you have your money, each family has their own money. If you want to borrow some money, you ask. So in the tradition, Imam asks, alayhi salam, how close are they, basically? And they're not at the level where they share each other. They're not that level that they sacrifice for one another. If one guy doesn't have enough, everyone will give to them. I won't have it, I'll give it to him. They're not at that level. Then the Imam mentions to them, then how are they, if they're stingy, basically for their money, then how are they expected to give their blood? They will be more stingy when it is for their blood to fight for imamat. If they're not willing to spend their money for one another, if not willing to share with one another, basically paraphrasing, then they will be more cheap with spilling their own blood. So therefore you see that this relationship that we have with one another is a relationship that will be carried on in barzakh, in the hereafter. You'll see each other, inshallah. Our teacher used to always say, he said that these discussions that we have, Shaykh Ahmad Mujtahidi, and Allah bless his soul, so these discussions that we have, he said that we would have it in the hereafter. But he would say, as a joke, they said there's different enjoyments in the hereafter that come and disrupt, the class. But he said we will still have these discussions in the hereafter. We'll see one another, inshallah. The last thing that I want to talk about, and we'll end, is that what time do people meet each other? So I gave you the address, Wadi al-Salam, inshallah, we'll see each other there. What time, inshallah? What time? From sunset to Fajr, we have the narrations. From sunset to Fajr, that's when the meetings happen. So it's a night, party, a night gathering, inshallah. It's an all-nighter. And we have in the traditions from Imam al-Kafi, إِلَيْهَا تَخْرُجُ أَرْوَاحُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مِنْ حُفَرِهِمْ, from their ditches where they're buried, the spirits of the believers come out. عند كل مساء, so at nighttime, afternoon, at evening, the spirits come, they come out. فتسقط على ثمارها وتأكل منها وتتنعم فيها وتلاقى تلاقى وتعارف. So they meet each other, they see each other, they know each other at nighttime. That's why that's one of the reasons why it's discouraged to see and visit the graves at nighttime, because maybe they're at other places and they're seeing the imams, for example, visiting others, and you come and you disrupt them at nighttime. Maybe, I'm just saying a possibility. Some have given this possibility, some of the scholars, that at nighttime is you don't want to disrupt them and do not visit the graves at nighttime. And then it says, فَإِذَا طَلَعَ الْفَجْرُ هَاجَتْ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ. So therefore, when it's Fajr time, they leave. So the time is nighttime. That's when everyone goes to Wadi al-Salam and sees each other. The last thing is this, and we'll end, is how long do people feel barzakh when they meet each other, see each other? How long do they feel? In a tradition, Imam Ali alayhi salam saw a person, met him, and he was actually, you could tell from his physical signs, he was not of the good. He did lots of sin. But he still says salam to Amir al-Mu'mineen when he sees him in tradition. He says, As-salamu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. And they ask him, in this book, they ask him, how long were you here? He asks him. And the person replies that it was more than an hour. And he said, for example, then the Imam says, how many days? He says, it was more than a day. And he asks him, how many months were you here? He says, it was more than a month, for example. He asks him, how many years? He says, maybe 100 years I've been here. And then the Imam in this story says to him that he has only been there less than 1 hour, but he felt like he was there for 100 years in Barzakh because of the difficulties, the sins. And he's someone that says salam to Amir al-Mu'mineen. He feels as if he's been there for over 100 years. But for him, in reality, he was there for 1 year. But you have in other traditions that the believers, the wali of God, for Barzakh does not last more for them than 3 days. 3 days for them. Someone asked me this question, the other night, and said, is it fair? Basically, not necessarily fair, but what about those that die earlier? They'll be in Barzakh longer. And you understand this, that length of Barzakh is how much you feel you're in there. So some people, they might be buried, say, 2,000 years ago, but for them, when they wake up and it's the day of judgment, it has been less than 3 days. So we understand that if you want easiness, if you want good in the grave, it goes back to our actions. The most important thing that people will be thirsty of is amal salih. The tradition has that people in this world are very interested in money, dirham and dinar, gold coins and silver coins. How attractive is it? Bring a bunch of, gold coins right now. But in the hereafter, they'll be thirsty, they'll be longing for gold coin, they'll be longing for amal salih, good action. And that will be, everyone's looking, wow, look at all that, how great action he has, look at all that, So that's what's going to be very interesting and going to be things that we can be, happy to have in the hereafter. Ya Allah, we ask you because of this journey that we have in front of us, inshallah, give us amal salih in this world, inshallah. Give us good actions in this world. To our family members and to our friends that have passed away, may Allah reward them with this, remembrance of knowledge, remembrance of Ahlul Bayt, inshallah. May Allah bless their souls and give them always, inshallah, gifts of recitations and good actions. Give them gifts to become very happy. A side note is visit your deceased. In some of the traditions it has or sayings that a person becomes happy when someone visits their grave, and when that person leaves, he has washa, he has fear that he's all alone again. So visit those that have passed away. Ya Allah, this Shahr Ramadan, accept our actions, accept our fasting, our prayer. Ya Allah, answer our du'as. Everyone here has different hawa'ij. Grant them their hawa'ij. Give shafa, inshallah, to the sick, and help those that are poor. Give relief to those that are in distress. And make us of the companions of the Imam of the age. We're tired and complain about the occultation. It is lasting long. And we wish that the occultation will end soon, and soon we'll see the advent and the dhuhur of Imam al-Zaman and be, inshallah, of his companions with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you for listening. Sorry if it took too long. If we can disconnect the stream, we're going to take a few questions. And once he gives me the thumbs up that it's disconnected,